Hello and welcome to another episode of TPS Traffic Jam, where we jam about traffic. Joining me today is Inspector Richard Harris. He's with the Hold Up Squad. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We had a brief chat before we hit record, and I wanted just to give everybody the opportunity to know a little bit more about you and your unit, and then we can get into the topic today about specifically carjacking.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, the Hold Up Squad, as you know, is mandated to investigate retail robberies, financial institution robberies, home invasions, and we've recently taken on carjackings as part of our mandate. And those carjackings specifically are those that are committed by persons who use offensive weapons and/or some physical force. The majority of the carjackings that have taken place in the city, we do have carriage of. Otherwise, the divisional investigative units take carriage of them. But on occasion, based on the evidence from those that we don't take, we sometimes do, if we can relate it to an ongoing investigation as well.
Oh, interesting. So, if there's sort of, what would be the threshold when it becomes yours versus a divisional?
Yeah. So, an offensive weapon, firearm, knife, weapon used, some serious injury taking place, or if we could attribute an incident that doesn't have any of those factors in, we would also take carriage of those as well.
Got it, because it relates to something else you've been doing, but it just fits the profile. And that's unique now. You were saying recently you started doing that. Before it was all a division?
Yeah, before it was citywide response with respect to investigating carjacking incidents, and it was in the end of 2020, I believe, where it became part of our mandate as well.
Very cool. And of course, recently we've been seeing in the media that there was a bit of well, at very least, some media attention on carjacking.
Yeah,
and many people prior to that may not have realized that it ever happened.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate trend that we saw occurring. We saw a really big spike in April this year. And as a result of that, we at Hold Up have now formed an investigative team that specifically investigates carjacking occurrences, and they're doing exceptionally well. It's comprised of permanent members of the Hold Up Squad and three detective constables from the most affected divisions. And I got to tell you, the work they're doing is incredible. We have seen, apart from working with our GTA partners and our divisional units as well, we have seen a downward trend, thankfully. And we can attribute this to the fine work that the field is doing, that the investigative teams are doing, and quite frankly, the media attention, I believe, that's getting the word out that we're definitely on these incidents, and we're going to investigate them to the fullest and hopefully bring them to successful conclusions very, very quickly.
And I've seen a number of press releases come out recently where people were arrested in conjunction with carjackings in particular. So that's great that's going well and that it's being effective.
Yeah, it's going well. It's a well-oiled machine, really, when you're working together with everybody. Like I said, the divisions, not only those that are affected, it's a citywide response where they're paying attention to the identified hotspots, quote unquote, where we're seeing these incidents occur quite frequently. There's an enforcement piece and there's high visibility piece as well. And on a larger scale, we also work daily and information share with our GTA partners. And this allows for a lot faster identification of links towards occurrences that may take place outside of the city. And things just work better when you share information and work together. It's a beautiful thing, really.
Yeah. As Hannibal Smith would say, I love it when a plan comes together.
That's right.
So is the average, and I don't know if we can get into this, but is it just that there's a demand to steal cars and sell them? Is it people like? Is there a common theme to why these cars are being targeted? Anything we can talk about there?
Yeah. So in some cases, in some of the larger scale investigations where we're making multiple arrests and seizures of multiple vehicles, the higher end vehicles, if you will, we're seeing that those are either being sold domestically or even overseas. In some cases, we've seen them as far as off the coast of Malta, and we're buying cars from there. What we're seeing now is a bit of a trend where the not so high end vehicles, if you will, are being targeted, and those vehicles we can definitely identify are being used in other crimes. In fact, some of our robberies, jewelry store robberies, and retail robberies as well.
I was going to say, so it's not something that you can simply say, this isn't going to affect me. It could just be that you're at the wrong place at the wrong time and become a target of this kind of crime.
Absolutely.
And whereas I think a lot of people were on the misconception that if you don't drive a Rolls Royce or a fancy car, that really wouldn't be something that they have to worry about. But
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And you know, the saying "in the wrong place at the wrong time." I'm not a big fan of that because people should be able to move freely about their business. And unfortunately, one occurrence is far too many. And although they are in a downward trend, one occurrence is concerning, and we take them quite seriously.
for sure.
And we put ourselves in the shoes of the victims. This is one of the most intrusive and you know traumatic events that someone can go through. You're left alone in the middle of nowhere in a car stolen, and hopefully not physically injured too significantly, but there are psychological effects that are long lasting, years after the effects.
I remember speaking to people who had had their homes broken into when they were at home, and they found that traumatic. So this would be that much more personal, and again, being either assaulted or left behind to figure out what to do next is troubling. Now, there was recently some information circulating on social media, tips and suggestions of what to do if you're found in a position like this. What do you do? And to that, what would you tell our viewers to prepare for, or how to respond?
Absolutely. So what I would suggest, and I've said it time and time again, is always be aware of your surroundings as best you can. Try to, if you can, invest in dash cam technology, which will assist in our investigations undoubtedly. Act quickly and call 911. Let us know as soon as you can if this incident take place, and there's definitely going to be a very quick response to it and ensuing investigation. Again, know your surroundings, and if you can, safely leave the area. Try and escape, and make sure you secure your vehicles at all times, even while you're driving. Keep your doors locked. You know, I wouldn't say have your windows up or anything, but just keep your vehicle secure, and most importantly, know your surroundings. And finally, of course, if this unfortunate incident were to take place, my suggestion is to strongly comply with the demands, because your safety is far more important than the value of any material object.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You can buy a new car even if you have to wait on back order.
That's right.
You can replace the wheels. You can't replace people, and very often I imagine, as you were saying earlier, weapons can be involved in this assaults.
Right.
You want to minimize the negative outcome. Let them take your stuff and live to fight another day.
That's right. Absolutely. And we're also so on a bigger scale too. We also, like I said, we work with outside agencies. We're working very closely alongside with York Regional, Durham Regional, Peel Regional Police, and you might have heard of the Operation GTA, where that seeks to identify not only the persons that are responsible for the actual incidents, but where the car goes from there and who's actually behind these incidents that are taking place as well. So, like I said before, it's a well-oiled machine, and we are definitely on top of this. And I love the attention that the media has given to it, only for the reason that we're getting the messaging out there to the greater public that much faster, and hopefully collectively we'll bring this to an end. And of course, the end game is zero harm outcome.
Zero harm is it. I mean, we talk about traffic safety here at Traffic Services all the time. It's no different on the flip side, where it's a criminal event. We just want people to get to where they're going safely, and when they get confronted with this situation where they're at risk, how to get through it. So now we didn't specifically talk about the breakdown, but there's some media or social media coverage of break.
Yes. So break is an acronym that actually fits into what I just described somewhat with respect to how to combat carjacking for potential would-be victims. B, in the word break, standing for be alert. R, respond accordingly. A, act and call 911. K, know your surroundings. E, escape if at all possible. And S, secure your vehicle. And this, in fact, July is Carjacking Awareness Month, and there's been a lot of social media attention put out on it, and the response has been fantastic. And I failed to mention that when I mentioned the community at large, they in fact are quite fed up, and we're getting a ton of cooperation and assistance from the community at large when it comes to these investigations. And then we go back to the victims. We have a great working relationship with victim services, and it's not a matter of, okay, this incident took place, we're sorry this happened to you, and we move on. We keep in touch with our victims and make sure that, throughout the process, that they are taken care of as best they can to try and get over such a traumatic event.
That's awesome to hear. And again, for those who have been through it, I don't think you can really put yourself in their shoes until you've walked in it, because it's such a unique experience to be victimized in that way, or victimized in any as a result of any crime.
That's right.
We got a lot of attention because of a celebrity was involved, and it came out in the media. So that actually helped bring it to the forefront and get more attention, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, every victim, regardless of their status or whatever, we take these 100% seriously, and we investigate every single matter. Yeah, there was a lot of media attention around certain events, and we continue to investigate them all equally, and we want to bring each and every single incident to a successful conclusion.
Yeah, there's no question that we as the police handle them all the same, but in terms of the media, that pushed everything up front, and hopefully that served to get more attention and more awareness, because ultimately it's about awareness. And when you talk about be aware and know what's going on, it's I imagine sitting in a parking lot, on your phone, fixated on a device, not realizing who's approaching your vehicle, is one of those things that's going to put you in a bad situation. And when we're so focused on our phones, when it comes to driving, we say don't do it because it's dangerous and it's against the law. But many people pull off the road to use the phone, and they could be actually putting themselves in a position where they're not paying attention.
Exactly. So again, yeah, that echoes, the be aware of your surroundings. I couldn't stress that enough, because in several of our incidents, the victims are unaware that one, they may be being followed, or they're just blitzed in parking lots as well.
Have you heard? Are there also distraction elements to this, where people pull up and say, "Can you help me with something," and then turn it into a carjacking, or is it more brazen, more?
There are some distractionary techniques that they're utilizing. There's been instances where they would do intentional contact to the rear of the victim's vehicle, and of course, the natural reaction would be get out and assess the damage and exchange information, et cetera, et cetera. It never gets that far, obviously. The victims, once they are bumped from behind, they get out, and then they're blitzed by the would-be robbers.
Someone comes out, grabs it, or grabs them. Is there a phone situation? Because I've heard stories, not from police sources, but from other people who talk about that their phones have been taken as well to prevent them from calling police. Or is that something you're seeing as a theme?
Yeah, we see that often as well. They're securing all the personal belongings of the victims, the cell phones, in any way of, I guess, alerting the police or some sort of assistance, and literally they're left alone, screaming for help or asking for help from area citizens or witnesses in the area, et cetera.
That's truly scary. As I put myself into a position, I don't know where the last time I saw a cell phone, or a payphone, I should say, let alone have a quarter to operate one. Right. Mind you, 911 would have been free. Is when they're just in the middle of nowhere, that is particularly strange. It's a strange scenario to put yourself in, where you suddenly feel disconnected. So yeah,
you can only imagine.
And I'm trying to imagine right now, and it's uncomfortable just to put myself in that space. Anything that you would? We've talked about a bunch of different things, but is there anything that you want to leave people with in terms of suggestions, tips, other ideas or plans? Like let people know where you're going, type of thing. Is there?
Yeah, if they always say trust your instincts. If you feel that you're being followed, or you don't feel something is right, make a couple right turns and see if you are actually being followed. And if it could turn out to be nothing, but you feel much better calling the police or asking for assistance, and it be discovered to be nothing, rather than second guess yourself.
That actually sounds like a great idea, is because you can always call the police and say, I believe that I'm being followed, and I imagine most times you'd be told, why don't you drive to the closest police station and we'll intervene on the way. that makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about a whole bunch of different things, and there's some great advice for people who to both prevent and for the to what to do in the event that you are found being the victim of a crime like this. If people have information, or if they want to get more information, if they've got tips, what would you suggest they contact? Is it one of those Crime Stopper calls, or the calling a division?
Absolutely, yeah. We work closely with Crime Stoppers as well, so that is one option they have. They can also call the local division wherever they're at if they realize where they are, or call 911. But in terms of tips for after the fact, 222 tips. We definitely would love the information, and we are grateful for the continued support from our communities.
And in terms of social media, we have the Toronto Police, very big on Twitter, on Instagram, on all the social media platforms, and we can make those. Does Hold Up have a Twitter presence or a social media presence in particular, or is it all based off the main?
Based off the main, and there you can also get the updates with respect to ongoing investigations or concluded investigations made where arrests are made in these incidents, and we definitely want to keep the public informed of how things are going. It's that's basically it. Yeah, that's
no, that is it. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Inspector, for coming and spending time with us and sharing this message. And I'm glad to see that it's a downwards trend, and hopefully it's eliminated altogether, so people can feel more safe. But we're not trying to tell people that they're in danger all the time. Just to be aware and and take those preventative steps so that you don't find yourself victimized like this.
Absolutely. That's it. Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And if you ever want to come back, just let me know.
Sounds great.